Hello everyone, this is Satyavamsi Kumar Appala, working as an assistant professor in Computer Science Department, B.V. Raju College, Bhimavaram. In today's session, we are going to discuss about data science lab-oriented programs. Program is to perform the arithmetical operations on vectors. In Python, a vector is nothing but a one-dimensional array. So if you want to perform the arithmetical operations on vectors, the first and the most important condition is the considered vectors elements length must and should be similar, then only we can perform the operations. So in this program, I created user-defined functions. And next, if you want to perform the add operation, if you want to perform addition operation on two vectors, I created a add named function here. So if you observe, the purpose of this print statement is it will going to perform the addition operation. So that's why I'm calling the add function. At the time of calling this function, I supplied two vectors as arguments. If you observe the length of these two vectors, the first vector length is 3 and the second vector length is also 3. So then we can perform the addition operation. So whenever we are calling that function, the control enters into the function definition. So the first vector elements will be stored into the v named list, and the second vector elements are stored into the second argument, that is w. And next, if you observe this function body, the first statement is the assert statement. It is almost similar to if conditional statement. So it checks the condition. The length of the first vector is equals to the length of the second vector. It becomes true only then it performs the addition operation. Otherwise, it shows the message vectors must be the same length. So how it will performs the addition operation? It will considers the element. It will performs the element-wise addition operation. For suppose the first element in the first vector is added with the first element in the second vector. Similarly, for the remaining elements. In the similar way, the purpose of the second function is a subtraction, element-wise subtraction it will performs. Third one, multiplication, and the fourth one, division. Now consider the next operation, that is a scalar multiply. Scalar multiply. The purpose of this operation is if you want to perform the multiplication with a constant value, to perform multiplication to perform the multiplication operation with a constant value. So here, if you observe, at the time of calling this function, we are passing two parameters. Out of those two parameters, first parameter specifies the multiplied value. The second parameter specifies the list of elements in the considered vector. So see here, see this print function statement. I'm calling the scalar multiply function with two parameters. What is the first parameter? The first parameter value is 2. The second parameter is the vector with 3 elements. So each element in this vector is multiplied by 2. So that operation is called as a scalar multiplication. Each element in the considered vector is multiplied by the constant value. The constant value is considered here, value is 2. And the last operation, that is a dot operation, dot product. So what is the purpose of dot product? At the time of calling this dot function, we needed to supply two parameters. So what are those two parameters? Two vectors are given as parameters or arguments to this function. By accepting those arguments, the control enters into the corresponding definition. So I think all of you know, whenever we want to perform an operation on vector, initially we have to check the length of those two vectors. Both are similar or not. If those lengths are similar, then we can perform the corresponding operation. So what is the purpose of dot product? It performs element-wise multiplication, which means the first element in the first vector is multiplied with the first element in the second vector. Similarly, for the remaining elements, after performing the element-wise multiplication, then At last, it will performs the summation, and the corresponding result will be given as the output by this dot function. So these are the different operations we can perform on the considered vectors. By executing this program, once if you observe the output, whatever the two vectors we considered, by applying the add operation, this will be the corresponding result. And similarly for the remaining operations, those are subtraction, multiplication, division. Scalar multiplication, we already discussed it. Each element in that vector is multiplied by constant value. So actually the original vector we considered is 1, 2, 3. That is the considered vector. That vector is multiplied by the value 2. So that's why the output becomes 2, 4, 6. So, and the last operation, dot product. By performing the dot product operation on the considered two vectors, it gives the corresponding value 32. How it becomes 32? After performing the element-wise multiplication and their summation, the value becomes 32. Thank you all. The purpose of this program is generating the random numbers. In Python, there is one module called random. Within the random module, there are n number of functions are there. With the help of those functions, we can generate a random number. So see, if you observe the first statement in this program, we are importing the predefined functions available in the random module. What are those functions? Seed, random, shuffle, choice, sample, randrange. So those are the predefined functions available in which library? Random library. So see the purpose of the next statement. Within the random module, the first function is the random function. The purpose of this random function is to generate a random number lies between 0 and 1. And also it generates the random number is of type floating type. So first of all, I want to generate 5 random numbers. So that's why I used a for loop here. How many times this for loop will iterate? 5 times. At each iteration, it generates a random number. And whatever the random number it is generated, that is stored in a list. That list name is specified here 1. So whenever we are trying to print this one named list, total 5 random numbers will be given as the output. Okay, so the purpose of random function is to generate a floating type random number lies between 0 and 1. Now coming to the second function, seed. For suppose if you want to, in some cases, if you want to generate the same random number once again, in that situation, we have to prefer this seed method. It stores that previous random number. So first of all, I'm generating a random number with the help of random function. And next, seed function is set to the value 10. Again, we are trying to generate one more random number. So that's why one more random function implemented here. So if you observe, the both the random numbers are similar. The generated random numbers both are similar. Why it becomes similar? Because we are using seed function here. So what is the purpose of seed function? It restores the previously generated random number. It again generates the previously generated random number. Next one, see the third function. What's the third function? Rand range. So the purpose of this function is whatever the range we specified, within that range, a random number will be given as output. For suppose, see the purpose of this statement, print using rand range of 10. And we are calling that function with the value 10. What is its purpose? The first, it generates the random number, that value lies between the first 10 numbers. And see the next statement, print using rand range 5 comma 10. So here, when you compare it with the previous statement, what is the purpose of this function rand range of 5 comma 10? Here we specified two parameters. So what is the initial value? 5. What is the last value? 10. Within that range, the corresponding random number will be given as output by that function. Next, shuffle. The next function name is shuffle. So here, if you observe x equals to I for I in range of 10. So how many times this for loop will iterate? 10 times this for loop will iterate. So it first of all 10 random the first 10 numbers will be stored as a list with the name x. I'm trying to print those 10 values. So that's why print before shuffling, and I specified the list name, that is x. And next, I applied the shuffle function on that list. Whatever the 10 numbers are existing in the x named list, those values positions will be interchanged. So then I'm trying to display those values in that list. So again, I am using the print statement. So here, if you observe the previous print statement and the current print statement, the X list values are in different positions. Their positions are, their element positions are changes with the help of which function? Shuffle function. And the next one, choice. Choice. For suppose, if you want to access a particular value from a list of values, then we need to prefer this choice function. Actually, there is a one list called x with 10 values. Out of those 10 values, I want to access a particular value. Then we need to prefer choice. We need to apply this choice function on that list x. Next one, sample. Sample. So here, see the statement y equals to sample of x comma 5. Sample of x comma 5. What it indicates? I'm going to apply the sample function on x named list with how many values I want to access. I want to retrieve 5 values. 5 values. So here, one more point is whatever the 5 values will be obtained, will be given by sample function. Those values must and should be distinct values, which means that whatever the first value will be given by sample function, that will not be placed into that list once again. So which indicates elements without replacement. Elements without replacement. For suppose the sample function gives one value from that list. So then the remaining 4 values which does not contain that one value. Why means it follows without a replacement strategy. Next one, see the next one. So see this statement, z equals to choice of range of 10. And also we specified a for loop. How many times this for loop will iterate? 4 times. At each iteration, I want to access a random value. So that's why I mentioned choice function. That random value range within the specified range. I want to access a particular random value within the first 10 numbers. Similarly, 4 times I want to access 4 random numbers. So that's why in each for loop iteration, it generates a random number. So total 4 random numbers will be given by this statement. Those 4 random numbers will be treated as a list, and that list name is z. And I am trying to print that those 4 values stored in that list z. So that's why print elements with replacement using choice, and I specified that list name z, and try to see the output of this particular program. So once if you observe the first line of output, we used a random function. We used a random function 5 times. So total 5 random numbers are given as output. So if you observe each random number, that value lies between 0 and 1, and also that is of floating type. Next, next, I generated one random number using a random function. Next, I applied a seed function. And next, after seed function, I generated one more random number with the help of random function. Using using rand range, trying to generate a random number. What's the range we specified at 10? So what's the value will be generated 6. And next, rand range of 5, 10. Here we supplied two parameters. Initial value is 5, last value is 10. Within that range, it generated the random number 8 will be given as output. Before shuffling, the first 10 numbers, those are starting from 0 to 9. After applying the shuffle function, those 10 values positions are swapped. Next, by using the choice function, we accessed a particular value from those list of 10 values, that is 6. Next, without replacement, we used the function sample. If you observe, sample function can be used to access a value. Whatever the value we accessed, those are without the replacement. It works on the principle of without replacement. So the obtained 5 values are in distinct. Next, by using the choice function, whatever the values we accessed, those values there may be a chance of repetition. Thank you.